Good evening. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and is posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, Tuesday at 5 a.m., and Thursday at 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Trowbridge.
Present.
Vice Chair Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Buckley.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Ellsworth, I understand, is excused.
Yes, he is. Okay, we do have a quorum. I call your attention to the information printed on your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you. In regards to the minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 11, 2009 Planning Commission meeting?
Mr. Chairman, motion so moved.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Motion carries. I believe. Post. What do we have? They're trading mice. There we go. That motion carries. Starting off real smooth. Okay, now let's move on to our housekeeping items. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, item number 6, the applicant has requested that this item be tabled to allow for plan revisions. Items 7, 8, 9, and 10, the applicant has requested that these items be withdrawn without prejudice. No reason was given for the withdrawal. Item 14, the applicant has requested that this item be withdrawn without prejudice as it is no longer necessary. Items 20 and 21, the applicant has requested that these items be obeyed to the August 13th Planning Commission meeting to allow for renotification of the item. And items 29, 30, and 31, the applicant has requested that these items be obeyed to the July 23rd Planning Commission meeting to allow for time to review staff conditions.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? Okay. Hearing none, Commissioner Truesdale, your motion on these housekeeping items?
Mr. Chairman, I move that these items be brought forward as recommended by staff.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries. Now, before we have the opportunity to start, which will be with item number 11, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Planning Commissioner David Steinman to come forward in some fashion.
There he is.
Should I?
You want to go down?
Let me just, yeah, that's probably better.
Okay.
Good evening, fellow commissioners.
As the chair makes his way down there, as you know, Mr. Commissioner Steinman became Councilman Steinman for an interim period, but because of that, we did not have the opportunity to say goodbye to him from the Planning Commission, and so the chairman will do that at this time.
So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank one of the hardest working members of the Planning Commission. He was the guy that would always go out and visit the sites and most often come back with suggestions and observations that he made while he was out in the field. It's service above and beyond the call of duty, and I think that the residents of all of Las Vegas owe you a significant debt, and to those in Ward 4 in particular because of your super representation of that area. But let me go through the formalities of reading this proclamation. So it's a proclamation from the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission. whereas the Planning Commission wishes to acknowledge the tireless and dedicated service to the City of Las Vegas and the Planning Commissioner of Commissioner David W. Steinman, and whereas David W. Steinman began his distinguished service as a Planning Commissioner on March 11, 2004, and served as a Commissioner from March 11, 2004 through December 18, 2008, and whereas during his tenure on the Planning Commissioner, Commissioner Steinman participated actively in the Joint City Council Planning Commission workshops of July 25, 2005, August 27, 2007, and March 23, 2008, and whereas Commissioner Steinman has provided insight to the adoption of the conservation, the historic properties preservation, public buildings, transit, community design, school facilities, streets and highways, and transportation elements of the city's master plans, and whereas while David W. Steinman served on the Planning Commission, nearly 10,000 acres were annexed to the City of Las Vegas, and whereas the Planning Commission decided an average of 1,250 cases per year during the period of Commissioner Steinman's service, and whereas the Planning Commission of the City of Las Vegas wishes to acknowledge the service and volunteer spirit of Planning Commissioner David W. Steinman to the citizens of the City of Las Vegas, and whereas the Planning and Development Department recognizes the many valuable contributions made by Planning Commissioner David W. Steinman to the City of Las Vegas and the professional planning community in Southern Nevada, and now be it resolved that the Planning Commission for the City of Las Vegas sends its heartfelt thanks for the commitment and dedication of Planning Commissioner David W. Steinman, awarded this 9th day of July, 2009. Thank you so much. You want to say something?
Put the clock on, please.
Put the clock on. Put the 3-minute clock on, or something like that.
2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think I've had the great joy of comparing commission work with council work, and let me tell you that the work that this commission does is just incredible, and it gets so detailed and down to the nitty-gritty. And I'm really inferring that when you get to the council level, you really don't know much of what's going on, if you want to know the truth, relative to all the planning and zoning like you do. And you depend on the Planning Commission. And I thought I'd never get lost on planning issues ever. But I was lost, let me tell you, during council. And only when it was a particular concern when we have large discussions, most of the time we depended upon the Planning Commission. And that's when I realized that my 5 years on commission were the most valuable service I did to this city. And it's unfortunate I'm not going to go on with you, but you shall always be my friends. I shall always have the great appreciation for what you did for me and brought a guy on the commission that had been in this city for only 4 years when I got on here. It was incredible to come on with all of you. And I thank you very much for the guidance you gave me during this time, and I wish you all very well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You going to give it a raise?
What was that comment?
I think that was Todd.
Todd said something. He probably supported the motion.
I asked if they were going to give him a raise.
Oh, yes, we're going to double his salary. He's now making nothing. Okay. We now move on to the public hearing items, item number 11 and related items 12, 13, and 15. Item number 11 is variance 34-308. The applicant is George Reinhardt, the owner of Aspen Highlands Holdings, LLC, to allow a 507-foot tall, 28,856 square foot drop roof sign where a maximum of 8 feet in height and 150 square feet in area is permitted, and to allow the combined area of wall and roof signage to be 56% of the south elevation, where a maximum of 20% per elevation is permitted at the northeast corner of Sahara Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard. Note, this application has been amended to allow a 98-foot tall, 11,210 square foot roof sign where a maximum of 8 feet in height and 150 square feet in area is permitted, and to allow the combined area of wall and roof signage to be 79% 23%, and 101% of the south, east, and west elevations respectively, where a maximum of 20% per elevation is permitted. Item number 12 is waiver 34311. The applicant is George Reinhardt, owner of Aspen Highlands Holdings, LLC. It's a waiver of Title 18.12.130 to allow Cincinnati Street to not terminate in a cul-de-sac. Item number 13 is special use permit 34309 for a liquor establishment tavern with a waiver to allow a 100-foot distance separation from a similar use where 1,500 feet is required. And item number 15 is site development review 34306 for proposed two-story, 37,100 square foot non-residential gaming, casino, and retail establishment with a waiver of the downtown Centennial Plan streetscape standards on Cincinnati Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing a two-story casino and retail establishment located at the northeast corner of Sahara Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard, with a roof sign that will extend the overall structure to 138 feet. A special use permit for a tavern is required for sales of alcohol within the casino and restaurant areas. Parking is to be provided within an existing parking structure as well as some additional surface parking, and is consistent with similar uses within the downtown Centennial Plan. The roof sign is proposed as an LED video display oriented towards Sahara Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard and complies with the Las Vegas Boulevard scenic byway requirements for illumination, but exceeds the height and area restrictions of Title 19.14, resulting in the need for a variance. Staff is recommending approval of the request for waiver 34311, special use permit 34309, and site development plan review 34306, as the proposals complies with all requirements of the downtown Centennial Plan with the exception of the waiver request, which can be supported as the affected street dead ends approximately 100 feet east of Las Vegas Boulevard, providing vehicular access to the subject site but not pedestrian access. Furthermore, the proposal meets the intent of the downtown Centennial Plan to provide a variety of uses in a pedestrian-friendly streetscape along both Sahara Avenue and Las Vegas Boulevard, and it will enhance the overall image of the downtown area by improving the southern gateway to the city. Staff is recommending denial of the request for variance 34308 as the applicant has not provided compelling evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance and has created self-imposed hardship by proposing signage that does not meet the standards of Title 19. Please note that additional protests and approval were received for variance 34308.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the microphones and give your name for the record. On behalf of the applicant, we have.
Mr. Chairman, before we go forward, I'm going to abstain on these items in as much as I own an interest in the property adjacent to this site. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. I'm Chris Kemper. With me is Bob Genzer. Also in the audience is Tom Amick of our office and Lee Haney. And architect George Reinhardt is here, should you have any questions appropriate for his consideration. We're going to be very brief on this particular item. We appreciate staff's recommendations of approval as to all items except relating to the variance, which they note in their comments still nevertheless meets the requirements of the scenic byway, and we appreciate that. When we first were trying to determine what to do on this corner, we were in essence told, do something special, do something that's eye-catching, do something, if you can, that's iconic. Make this a real statement for those who are entering the city of Las Vegas, and we have done just that. We hired the same party who designed and set up some of the signage in Times Square. We put substantial time into the redesigning of that corner, and we've done what we think we were asked to do, which is do something special on the entranceway to the city of Las Vegas. If we can just briefly go over the site plan, which I guess it is on the overhead, although it's hard to see. It looks just like it's not? No, apparently not. What we have on the screen here looks like chicken scratch, I guess. I'm not sure. There it is. Okay. As you can see, we've met the requirements of the city with regard to landscaping along Sahara and along Las Vegas Boulevard. Additionally, there was a request that some landscaping be provided along the northern, kind of the northeast edge here that Mr. Genzer just pointed out, and we accept that condition. The sign is located in that corner that Mr. Genzer is pointing here in conjunction with, as noted, a two-story casino and retail operation. Before we get to the sign itself, I'd like to show you the street and some of the things that have been done. I know one of the questions that were asked is exactly what kind of dedications were we required to do, and how can we potentially fix some of the problems that are at that intersection. Well, needless to say, this one developer can't fix them all, but he certainly is doing his fair share. Again, it may be hard for you to see. I don't know if you can discern the yellow very well, but basically where the yellow line is where it is now, where the street is now. And then where the white line is, and Mr. Genzer can draw that out, that's the additional dedication. On Las Vegas Boulevard, I believe it's a full lane all the way along there, and on Sahara, it's actually 2 lanes, a right turn lane and then a second lane. Staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's a total of 35 feet of dedication on Sahara, and Mr. Genzer is acknowledging that that's correct, and additional dedication on Las Vegas Boulevard. With regard to the variance, it is my understanding that anything over 8 feet requires that a variance be filed. So you really can't do something really special, really eye-catching, really iconic on that corner and keep it under 8 feet. So the bottom line is, we think what we've done here accomplishes what we were asked to do, and we have the sign now that we can put up. This sign is in conjunction with, maybe we can back off a little bit. It's in conjunction, as I say, with the casino and the retail establishment, I guess all I can say is this is exactly what we think the City of Las Vegas wanted on that corner. Just so you know, for the record, we do plan on putting on there "Welcome to the City of Las Vegas" and doing other things that are community-oriented in terms of what may be going on in Las Vegas. So I don't have any other comments. I don't know if Mr. Genzer has anything additional he'd like to add.
The only thing I believe that maybe should be stated that you did not is that the sign has also been designed to allow for bridges to cross both Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara at some point in the future when that is finalized with the other corners. So that is incorporated into the design, and I know that's a key element for this traffic flow at this particular intersection.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on this matter? Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I like this, but I don't think it goes far enough. On Las Vegas Boulevard to the north, are they going to have any sign along that side of the building? If not, I think they should. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Commissioners and Director Wheeler. Terry Murphy, 7936 West Sahara Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Stratosphere. We're not here tonight to oppose the project at all. We have some concerns about the content and manner of operation of the sign. We know that the city can't regulate content. We will be meeting with the developer. Mr. Johnson has agreed to meet with our CEO, and we're happy about that. We just wanted to put that concern on the record. I have every reason to believe that by the time we get to City Council, we won't have that concern anymore. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commissioner to discussion and possible motion. I would start off with the first question, just to get on the record. This is an on-site sign, so I want to make sure that the material advertised on this particular sign is going to be related only to events and products that are sold on the site. Yes.
If I may write, that would be a condition that we would be adding.
Very good. And we also acknowledge and appreciate the offer to advertise the entrance to the City of Las Vegas from the south. That's a very civic-minded offer, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I just interject an item which I should have mentioned before? My law firm represents the property owner to the west across Las Vegas Boulevard, so and this would affect that property, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, we're losing.
Dropping like flies.
Like flies. We're down to.
Not me.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Evans.
Yes, I want to thank you. I, as a matter of disclosure, took the opportunity to talk with Mr. Kemper on the phone the other day about this project. Everything that he's indicated here today is substantially what was represented in our discussion. One of the questions that I had for Mr. Kemper, and you've clarified it here again this evening, is the owner's or the site's accommodation or assistance with the city traffic engineers in helping to eliminate some of the problems with that intersection. And as you know, and as we discussed, anyone who travels Sahara, when you get to Las Vegas Boulevard between the Sahara and the old Holy Cow site, the road curves, and it's always difficult with tourists gawking and people in the right turn lane, which isn't just a right turn lane. It's always problematic, and I'm always amazed that there aren't more accidents there. So the dedication of the streets, I think, is a very good thing, and I appreciate your offer to do that. And secondly, in terms of the sign and its height, once again, the variance that you're seeking, we've reduced it, I think you indicated, from 120 feet from an original application of, I think, 507. And quite frankly, I hope in the future that it is 507. The bigger, the better. That is the entryway to Las Vegas. I absolutely appreciate your offer to advertise welcome to the city of Las Vegas. I think a Times Square kind of vibrancy on that corner is exactly what this city needs. And with all due respect to the Stratosphere, I hope that you can work out whatever issues that you may have. But the fact that you're seeking to reopen that as an unrestricted gaming site puts life back into basically an abandoned building. Even as the Holy Cow, and before that, Foxy's, for anybody that's lived here for a long time, that corner was a vibrant corner, and I hope it is once again. So this application will see my support. I want to thank you for doing what you're doing in terms of making the roadway safer. And Mr. Ginzer, your statement about the way this is being designed so that in the future it would accommodate overhead pedestrian walkways, I think is an exceptional foresight, and once again, I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Any other comments from the commissioners? If not, I think we're ready for a motion on these items.
If there's no more discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion on agenda item number 11, abeyance VAR 34308. For the reasons stated, and as the applicant has indicated on the record, I think they've made a good case, and my motion would be for approval.
If I may put forward two possible conditions to be added. One, that the approval is pursuant to the submitted plans, date stamped June 19th, 2009, and that no on-site advertising no off-site advertising shall be allowed on the signage at any time.
And I'm willing to accept that, but just as a matter of future discussion, I know it could open up a can of worms, but once again, I think of the Times Square idea, and I like the idea of, major signage advertisement, but I'll accept the motion or the amendment, and my motion would reflect Ms. Wheeler's concerns.
The motion has been made. Please cast your votes. And post. Motion carries.
On agenda item number 12, the waiver 34311, request for a waiver for the street to not terminate in a cul-de-sac. Once again, I think a compelling argument has been made. My motion would be for approval.
The motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
Agenda item number 13, special use permit for a liquor establishment, tavern, etc., on Las Vegas Boulevard at that site. My motion would be for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries.
Item 14 was withdrawn without prejudice, so we'll move on to item 15, the site development review. My motion would be for approval of SDR 34306.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
All matters go forward to council on August 5th.
Thank you very much. We now move to item number 16 and companion items 17 and 18. Item number 16 is zoning 33-765. The applicant owner is Bashir Azala for RE Residential Estates 2C1 Limited Commercial on the east side of Martin Luther King Boulevard, approximately 500 feet north of Washington Avenue. Item number 17 is variance 34-539 to allow 34 parking spaces where 42 parking spaces are required. And item number 18 is site development review 34-540 for proposed two-story, 7,180 square foot commercial building with waivers of the perimeter landscaping buffer standards to allow buffers of 5 feet where 8 feet is required along the north and south perimeters and 7 feet where 8 feet is required along the east perimeter. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to rezone an undeveloped residentially zoned lot for commercial use and to construct a new 6,650 square foot commercial development on the site. The proposed site has been revised from the original submittal with the result that variance 34539 is less intense with 35 spaces provided where 38 spaces are required. In addition, the landscape waivers requested in site development plan review 34540 have been reduced to the north and south perimeters only with 5 feet of landscaping provided where 8 feet is required. An exception to parking lot landscaping is still required. Staff is recommending approval of the request for rezoning as the proposed zoning district is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts and is appropriate for the area. However, staff is recommending denial of the requested variance in site development plan review as the applicant has not provided any evidence of unique or extraordinary circumstances and has created a self-imposed hardship by proposing to overbuild the site. Please note that additional letters of concern were received for these items.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record, and please sign in to make it easier for the city clerk to record it. On behalf of the applicant, we have
Don Rodriguez, Empire Land and Development, 1115 Mariposa, Boulder City, Nevada. This is a holdover from a meeting in June. We've made revisions that we discussed at that time. We've relocated the trash enclosure to a more suitable location. We've reduced the square footage. We've increased the amount of parking and resubmitted. As staff read into the record, we no longer need the setback variance. That's been withdrawn. And I have a copy here of the site plan. I don't know if it's overhead. Doesn't look like it's overhead. The overall design remains the same, however, it has shrunk. Yes. We also have adjusted the height, which I can display in a proximity slope analysis. The height of the building is 26 feet, which falls well below the proximity slope requirement of 3:1, as demonstrated there. And prior to this meeting and speaking with Councilman Barlow's office, our main concern was parking. We have 35 spaces where 38 are required. And in that discussion, Councilman Barlow's office asked that we maintain that 24-foot drive aisle to provide for connectivity to the parking lot to the south. That 24 feet, which is here, along with the parking island, eliminates 3 spaces. If not for this driveway at the request of Councilman Barlow, we would have 38 spaces where 38 spaces are required.
the three items, let's see, they include any conditions. Do you accept, yes, there's a couple of them have conditions. Do you accept the conditions being proposed?
I've yet to review those conditions, but if you'd like to read them, I don't have a problem with what I've talked about with staff if those are the same conditions.
You better read 17 and 18. There are conditions if you don't have them.
Get the staff report? Oh, you didn't get the staff report?
I have not received the staff report, no.
Maybe we should trail this item.
It was provided by email and by letter.
Okay, let's trail the item and give the
You need to look at these before we
read them. Okay. So in regards to items 16, 17, 18, we'll trail them till you give me a signal that you're ready to go. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's just trail these and move on to item number 16, 17, and 18. We can move on to item number 19, which would be Site Development Review 34464. Were you going to speak regarding
16, 17, 18?
We're going to trail those until the applicant has the opportunity to read the conditions, and it shouldn't be too long before he gets a chance to read them. We'll call it back up. Thank you, sir. Okay. Item number 19, Site Development Review 34464. The applicant is Tower Realty and Development, LLC. The owner is Regal Plaza Pad D, LLC, for a major amendment to a previously approved Site Development Plan Review, SDR 2711, for the addition of a restaurant with a drive-through to an existing 5,566 square foot retail building with a waiver of Title 19.12.040E utility box and installation screening standards at the southeast corner of Craig Road and Jones Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this site plan review is before you as a result of the applicant not constructing the pad site to the approved site development plan review, the civil improvement plans, or the building permit. The site as built added a drive-through for a restaurant, moved the building approximately 8 feet to the south, 1.5 feet to the west, and added approximately 66 square feet of floor area. The height of the building also increased by 1 foot. In addition, a large utility box was located within the north landscape buffer, and it does not screened as required per Title 19. As such, staff finds that the added drive-through does not function in as large vehicles will have some difficulty navigating the turns without hitting the curbs or the building itself. The exit for the drive-through is located in the northwest corner of the building and creates a potential unsafe condition by channeling additional vehicles into a dead-end parking area that does not provide adequate space to turn a vehicle around in unless there is an open parking space to facilitate the maneuver. The waiver of the screening of the utility box cannot be supported as the box is prominently visible from the public right-of-way. And staff recommends denial of this application.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and invite anyone in attendance wishing to speak on this matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record and sign in so they have the spelling. And on behalf of the applicant, we have.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tabitha Fittimet, 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway. With me is Tanya Smith, and we're here on behalf of the applicant. As staff indicated, this is an existing shopping center, developed shopping center located on the southeast corner of Craig and Jones. Essentially, the issue before you is a drive-through that was not built to the approved site development plan. Staff has two main concerns with the existing drive-through. First is the existing configuration of the drive-through, and that's a real concern. If you were to drive it today, you would have a tough time maneuvering it. So we hired a traffic engineer, and that traffic engineer came up with a plan for us. So we have submitted that plan to staff. It will require some revision to the existing curb cut so that the drive-through is maneuverable. And I think based upon my discussions with your traffic engineers that is a safe and acceptable plan to them, and you can confirm that for yourself, obviously. Second is the lack of screening for both the utility box located within the landscape buffer as well as electrical boxes and equipment on the rear side of the building. With respect to that, we understand it and we're happy to fix it. We have commissioned a landscape architect to prepare a plan, which I have before you today. If you could direct the attention to the overhead. It's small, but we have 15-gallon box trees around in the landscape buffer, which is adjacent to, closest to the neighbors, that would screen the utility boxes along the rear of the building. And we also have proposed vines and screening consistent with Title 19 for the utility box, so we no longer would need to request that waiver to Title 19. Your staff has not seen these plans yet. However, we will submit and would accept a condition, obviously, that the revised landscaping be acceptable or consistent with code. So with that, Commissioners, I believe that we have addressed all the concerns expressed to us, and we're happy to answer questions if you have them.
Again, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the concern is we can't address that because we haven't seen the plans. So I can't tell you, we can't confirm whether any of the waivers need to be removed or not, or...
Understood, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Director Wheeler. I did speak with staff about this today. It's minor revisions to, there is no real significant revisions to the plan, but in order to address the concern that you raised, we would just be willing to accept a condition that said that the screening requirements would comply with Title 19, so that there is no question that what we have submitted complies with your code.
And the remaining...
So, if I may, let me try this. So you're withdrawing the request for waiver?
Yes.
4 waivers?
Delete condition number 4 of the SDR.
Right, and accept the withdrawal of the waiver application?
Correct.
With that, staff
We
can
still
allow you to continue.
We have the remaining issue that we need to. You say you've hired a traffic engineer that's looked at the turning radius and has recommended some curb cuts. And will those go to the city staff for review and approval to make sure that they do in fact allow for more comfortable turning? Because what was presented here on the screen that we see is awfully tight maneuvering, and my vehicle wouldn't make it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have submitted that revision to staff, and I did speak with traffic engineering earlier this week, and they did confirm to me that those revisions were acceptable to them, and they would consider them a safe revision. What is out there now is not maneuverable, and we understand that, so it will require actual revisions to the improvements.
And if those plans have been presented to staff,
yes,
and they've signed off on them?
Yes.
If I may,
please.
Lucian Pyatt, Public Works. The official construction revisions have not been approved, but we have seen them and they are approvable as they're proposing. So hope that clears up the question of the state of the plans.
Thank you. I think we're getting a little away from the standard procedure. If you've concluded your presentation, let me open it to public hearing, and then we'll get back to commissioners asking questions. The public hearing is open, so anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. And what I want to know is is there going to be any outside speaker boxes, and if so, will there be any noise issues with this? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed, and now I'll turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussions and possible motion and questions. Apparently there will be outside speaker boxes. What's the proximity to the nearest residences, and do we anticipate any noise problems, or do you have any decibel ceilings that you'll place on the things?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There will be a speaker box that will be facing Craig, and the noise that will emanate from that cannot be heard more than 12 feet away from the actual box, so there will be more noise generated from Craig Road than there would be from the speaker box.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Then I think we're ready for a motion.
Well, no, I'm...
Yeah, okay.
I'm just a little
Mr.
uncomfortable, Ms. Tabitha, voting on something I can't see, because I drove my car through there and I had trouble, and I understand that our staff is recommending that what you're proposing is right, and I trust that. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable because I can't see it, and I just wanted to put that on the record that I don't have anything to look at to see what it is. And also the speaker box, and it's just, to me, not a complete deal.
Understood.
right now.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still perplexed because the applicant is saying you're going to correct this, and that you hired a traffic engineer and they gave you some revised plans. Is that the...
Yes, the traffic engineer prepared a plan which addressed the existing problems, and those plans were submitted to traffic engineering, I believe, on June 5th. Traffic engineering, based on my discussions with them, reviewed it, and what they said to me was that they were fine, they were satisfied with the revisions. Those revisions would actually require modification to the existing curb cuts and to the existing configuration of the drive-through, so there would be physical improvements, modifications made. But they were happy with those revisions, and so they have had the opportunity to review it, like I said, and it has been submitted to your staff.
But theoretically, the drive-through can be changed, because everybody agrees there's not enough room. It wasn't permitted, it wasn't built properly. The engineers, whatever, the developer, the engineer, somebody jumped the gun, built it without the approval.
Yes,
right?
You are correct.
And when they built it, it isn't big enough for cars to make the turns, right?
That is correct.
So what you're saying is that you're going to revise it to the point where it is safe, because that's really, I think, all of our concern, aside from the fact that, we can, I guess, provide forgiveness, but the reality is it's a public safety hazard.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that you're going to revise it to where it isn't a public safety hazard, and Public Works is saying it's approvable, I guess, right?
And I'm sorry, do we have a revised site plan? Is that something that was submitted to planning?
Yes. As far as I know, I've talked to Mr. Rankin today. As far as I know, everybody's had the opportunity to review the plan. The plan that you're seeing on your screen right now is not the way it's actually built. This isn't a technical plan, but this reflects some of the revisions that will be made.
Mr. Rankin, can you clarify that?
The plan reviewed is the one date stamp 6409. That is the one that was submitted to the planning department for routing to the other various departments. I assume that is the plan that traffic reviewed?
Yes, that's correct. This is the plan that we've approved.
Okay. 6409 as in a month ago.
Correct. And that drive-through does have amendments to it to what exists out on the site currently. What they're doing is they're going to eliminate some of the foundation landscaping and some of the concrete at the foundation of the building to allow for a greater turn, so that when you're going into the drive-through, you have a little more room to maneuver into that drive-through from that area.
So if I may, I'm not presenting anything this evening with the exception of just trying to show you the landscaping that we added that has not been presented to your staff. I understand, that that's not acceptable. I want to give everybody the opportunity to review the revisions that we've made. I'm just kind of making the assertion this evening that we are correcting the public safety concern, and we are going to screen both the utility box and the electrical equipment on the rear of the building consistent with what your code requires.
And staff's okay with that?
Without the waiver itself, the requirement would be that the landscaping for the screening for the utility boxes, both along the street and along the building, would be required per Title 19.
I guess, again, I'm a little concerned. I have a greater comfort level than the Public Works is saying this is approvable. But my concern is, having driven some of, not this one, but my colleagues have gone, and they're telling me that the other application tonight that we have on our agenda for go-karts is the only way that could safely be maneuvered is with go-karts. Everybody says an ordinary car, let alone a big old SUV or a Hummer, never, ever would make the turn in a drive-through. We keep approving things through, I don't know how they get approved, but all throughout the valley, I have been in numerous drive-throughs where they empty out into parking lots, and there's no side access. And, tell somebody's kid that gets run over in one of these parking lots that we messed up, that we didn't do our job. I want to be able to vote on this and know that there isn't any public safety, and we did everything that we need to do to ensure that there's proper site access. So that's my big issue. I don't know whether anybody shares that, but that's my concern.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could ask a question of staff, or the applicant, I'm not quite sure, but there was a concern about where the drive-through emptied into that small little parking area, and that parking area was deficient.
Yeah, staff is concerned that as the drive-through exits into a dead-end parking area, that if there's a situation where someone is backing out as you exit, it makes it difficult to traverse. Also, you're mixing the drive-through traffic with pedestrian traffic as they exit out that area, and that's a concern staff has.
Has that been changed on the site plan?
Commissioners, understanding that your concern was a public safety concern, we had our traffic engineers review the entire site. There are other existing drive-throughs at this location, for example, Panda Express. We did discuss creating an exit there in that parking area right here out into this drive aisle right here. I mean, this is an entire commercial subdivision, so you're not just talking about this area itself. It's part of an entire commercial subdivision with parking through here. We did take a look at that, and that created a greater public safety concern. To address, the concern that you raised, Commissioner Evans, if you were to approve this application tonight, it would be only contingent upon us making physical modifications to what exists today. And our technical professionals have represented to us that those modifications will be safe, that they are consistent with code, and that they address the public safety concerns that you've raised. We also, like I said, have had your staff, your traffic engineers review it, and they have attested to the same thing, that so long as those modifications are made, that it will address the public safety concerns raised by your staff and you tonight. Are all of the conflicts in the existing shopping center going to be resolved? No. But this is consistent with commercial shopping centers. The type of drive-through traffic that we have is not, consistent with like a Jack in the Box or a Taco Bell. We have limited services, I guess, if you will, or limited amenities that we're providing. So there will be not as much drive-through traffic as a typical drive-through that you would normally think of.
What I want to ensure is that, and this is where I don't have the plan in front of me, I want to ensure that as you go through the drive-through, it doesn't spill out into a parking area. And that's what I think I'm hearing the staff say. Is it conceivable? Can you eventually change it to where cars can maneuver? I guess the answer is yes. But is it safe? In my mind, no. That's, I guess, where, and I don't have the plan to look at. So.
Well, the plan that's before you does show the drive-through emptying, because this isn't an existing drive-through. It does show it emptying into a parking area, and that is consistent with how other drive-throughs operate, and that can't be eliminated. The only way to potentially eliminate that concern would be to open up, to have an opening through this area
But
here.
This is all your creation, though. I mean, this was all created because you guys or your client chose to build this without permits, right?
Right. If I may, there was no drive-through here originally. There was no drive-through approved.
Correct. The drive-through was added without a review.
And the plan that is before you for your request for approval does comply with code and does meet the traffic public safety concerns raised. So that's what I'm saying, is that the one that exists definitely does not meet those public safety concerns and is not configured appropriately in a way that would allow for the maneuvering of vehicles. So there is going to be modifications made. Are all of the the second modification that you've requested, that there would be no traffic that would exit into a parking area, is that something we're able to address? No. But once we do make the revisions, it will comply with code.
Okay, it will comply with code, but it'll still empty out into a parking lot. A drive-through will empty out into a parking lot.
A parking area.
Okay. And I think that's a public safety problem. I don't know how the code anticipates that. But I'm sure that had this come before us originally, it never would have gotten approval, I don't think, in its configuration.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I'm just follow up on what Commissioner Evans is saying, because it occurs to me what we're sort of looking at. There wasn't a drive-through approved when it was originally built, so we sort of jumped over that question now to just saying, can we have a safe drive-through? Well, I guess the original idea was this was not the place for a drive-through, and so just because it can now be put in there safely, it still may not be a good place for a drive-through. And I think, having driven through there, coming out in that little area, it doesn't really, it's not well designed at all for a drive-through, I don't think.
Tabitha, what it comes down to for me is I hate saying no to you, for me personally. But the bottom line is, this is not a safe environment coming out of it. I drove it myself. My car could barely get through it. I'm a terrible driver, and I would have killed anybody trying to back out of there. So, in my opinion, what you should do is hold it just for a couple weeks, redraw it, show it. For me, I need to see it in black and white so that I can visualize tangibly what you're saying that I know you're going to do, but I can't vote on this tonight without it in place, and I'm sorry.
I think that's a good idea, Commissioner. I think that we should probably hold it and make sure that this is all clear.
I'm in and out of that shopping center 4 times a week at least, and it's confusing as presented.
Absolutely. Existing site constraints, the way it is today is definitely not maneuverable. So I need to make it, more clear than maybe through some exhibits how we propose to modify
Thank you.
the existing
One comment, because the applicant's going to bring a plan back 2 weeks or something we can visualize. The way this is configured, there is no way this drive-through is going to accomplish not blending drive-through traffic with parking. So when it comes back, we still are going to have that question, but there are some things that might be able to mitigate the safety issues. But I mean, it's just, you can't dump it back out onto the
I don't want to give a false impression that by simply redesigning it to make it maneuverable, it would see my support if, in fact, it still dumps out into a parking lot. Because I think that's a public safety problem. I know from my own experience it is. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we hold this for 2 weeks.
No, if I may, we need 30 days because we need to get the plan in and then we need to analyze it.
Oh, okay.
We'd have to turn around the plan instantly.
Our noticing requires us to hold this for 30 days.
So, August 13th.
Motion to hold this till August 13th.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. See you in 30 days.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, we can now return to item number 16, 17, and 18. We've concluded the staff input and the public input portions. What we're waiting for now is a comment by the applicant as to whether you would accept the conditions as presented.
We do accept all conditions as presented in the staff report for both items 17 and 18.
Thank you. The discussion has been held. Any further comments by commissioners? If not, I think we're ready for a motion.
Public hearing.
Okay, yes, that gentleman want to speak. So the public hearing is still open. Sir, give your name and...
Frederick Jackson, 1025 N Street. My property is located right directly behind his property, right to the east. My family built a house in 1958, and everything was all residential then. But right now he's trying to build, a lot of these issues I just learned about today about the changes. I just learned about just in this meeting. But anyway, still the 2-story building, I'm not in favor of that. I think it's in an undesirable location, which is right in my backyard. And the parking space, I think he still have inadequate parking. That's still going to be parking right there in front of my house. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Farlow?
Thank you. I'm curious, was the applicant required to surrender any property when Martin Luther King was widened?
Public Works?
I don't believe so. All the widening was done to the west.
Well, if so, I would say that that would be a mitigating factor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion, possible motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Just a couple of comments. I know this applicant has brought this back and has massaged this plan over and over and over again, and it's gone through the neighborhood meeting process. And I've toyed with this the last couple of weeks. I actually rode through there about 3 times today, and while I applaud the applicant's efforts on putting together a plan, it's a great building, but I think it's at the wrong location. Most of these buildings, or matter of fact, all these buildings on that side of Martin Luther King are pushed back, and I think this would just be an eyesore, or, if, for lack of a better term, a pleasant eyesore, but it's not compatible with the same type of building that's on that side of Martin Luther King. I can't support that, but I do applaud your effort. But I do think that the building is a little too big for this site. I think it's going to have a parking problem, even if you have the cross-access parking, because right now the Hare Unlimited Plaza is packed on Saturdays. And I think we're just creating another, for lack of a dead zone, especially with the ingress and egress out on to Martin Luther King. And once it's widened, the amount of traffic it's going to take during its peak traffic hours, I think it's going to cause some problems coming in and out from a parking standpoint. But it's a great building, but it's the wrong location. If you want to put this at Washington and Martin Luther King, where the old Bank of America building was, I'd be all for it. So those are my comments.
Any other comments, commissioners? I think we're ready for a motion.
On the rezoning, I can live with the zoning because everything on there is in that area is C1. So on item 16, I'd follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. Motion carries.
Item 17, follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. And item number 18.
And item 18, follow staff's recommendation for denial.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Please post. Motion for denial carries.
And all matters go
Thank
forward
you.
to the City Council at their meeting of August 5th.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. We now move to item 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Item number, that's what it is. Item number 22 is General Plan Amendment 34600. The applicant, owner is the Lakes Lutheran Church, is to amend a portion of the southwest sector plan of the general plan from R, Rural Density Residential, to SC, Service Commercial at 8200 West Sahara Avenue. Item number 23 is zoning 34601 from CV Civic to C1 Limited Commercial. Item number 24 is a variance 34605 to allow 160 parking spaces where 205 are required for a proposed church, house of worship expansion, senior citizen apartments, assisted living apartments, and convalescent care facility and child care facility. Item number 25 is a special use permit 34604 for proposed senior citizen apartments. Item number 26, special use permit 34606 for proposed convalescent care facility nursing home. Item number 7 is a special use permit 34608 for proposed assisted living apartments. Item number 28 is site development review 34604 for proposed 50-foot tall, 4-story, 33-unit senior citizens apartments, 41-unit assisted living apartments, 22-bed convalescent care facility, nursing home, a child care facility, and expansion of an existing church house of worship. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the site currently contains an existing 13,808 square foot church with associated parking and approximately 55,000 square feet of undeveloped area on 3.88 acres. The northern 1.2 acres portion of the subject property contains a general plan designation of R rural density residential, while the southern 2.76 acre portion of the subject property contains a general plan designation of SC service commercial. The general plan request is to create a uniform service commercial plan designation across the entire 3.88 acres. And staff can support this request, as the surrounding parcels to the east and the west have identical general plan designations of SC service commercial. In addition, there is a request to rezone the site from CB to C1, and staff can support that, as that it would be in compliance with the other zoning and land uses in the area. The applicant is proposing to construct a 4-story, 49.5-foot high building, which contains 41 senior citizen apartments, 22-bed convalescent care facility, and a 33-unit assisted living apartments, which will be operated in conjunction with the existing church and a proposed child care center. Staff finds the proposed location of the senior citizen apartments, assisted living apartments, and convalescent care facility will act as an appropriate buffer between Sahara Avenue and existing single-family residential, and staff finds that it's compatible and harmonious with the surrounding uses. However, staff cannot support the variance and site plan, as the applicant has not provided a compelling evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance and has created a self-imposed hardship for proposing to overbuild the site. Providing up to 30% compact parking spaces allowed in Title 1910 in conjunction with an alternative site plan or a reduction in the scope of the proposed project would accommodate the requested number of parking spaces. Staff also notes that the parking layout is fragmented and does not represent an efficient use of the site. Please note we have received additional protests after posting.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on the matter to please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. On behalf of the applicant, we have.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I'm Chris Kemper, here on behalf of the Lakes Lutheran Church. Pastor Kurt Sortland wanted to be here tonight, but he is in Minnesota with his extremely ill father, and asked that I extend to you his apologies for not being here on this very important project to him and to our church. I say our church because it is my church, and therefore I'm very familiar with the parking requirements and the site and everything that has to do with what we're doing here. We appreciate staff's recommendations of approval as to the general plan, the zone change, and the use permits for essentially senior uses, from assisted living and some senior housing to some memory care. There is a child care facility that goes along with that as well. Staff's main concern relates to the variance for parking, which also relates to the site development review. As I said, this is my church, and so I'm very familiar with the parking. If we could go to the overhead and I could point some things out, if I might. This is the existing church right here. What we are proposing is adding all of this additional parking. This is presently landscaping here. All of this additional parking would be essentially for the church. There's a crash gate here. This would then be the main entrance for the church parking. There's a new entry here to the church that would be utilized through this area here. The reality is, I wish I could say we pack it every Saturday night and every Sunday, but what we generally have is a maximum of 75 to 90 cars during a service, and that would be on Sunday at 10:30. The reason why that's important is because the child care facility is only open at Monday through Friday from 6, essentially 6, I believe, till 6:30. So consequently, there's not that conflict in terms of parking in conjunction with the child care facility. With regard to the assisted care facility and the memory care and the senior housing, again, I would love to be able to tell you that these are overparked, and the reality is they're not. These are built, and parking spaces that are required in conjunction with these facilities are, I can honestly say, never utilized. And maybe that's too sad to recall, but the reality is that a lot of times, especially in the assisted living and the memory care, people are placed there and not visited as frequently as you'd like to see. So this project is not just being done by Lakes Lutheran Church. It's being done in conjunction with a nonprofit that specializes in the construction of these facilities, and their national studies show that the parking we have provided here it would be more than adequate to service the needs of these senior elements. So we very much appreciate staff's recommendation of approval. We do accept staff's, if approved, conditions on the parking variance and the site development review, and we'd respectfully request your approval subject to all of staff conditions, including the if approved conditions on those two items. Thank you.
Thank you. The public hearing is open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Mr. Farlow.
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I kind of like this. I'd like to point out that in past events, we've had Hand of Southern Nevada come and request reduced parking for their facilities. And right now, you can go to their facilities, and those parking lots are almost vacant. So, I mean, I don't know if they readjusted their parking numbers or what, but I don't see a problem there. But I would like to ask the applicant, this area right in here, are those going to be little gardens for the people where they can take their wheelchairs out and get outside? I'm just curious.
Please. Mr. Chairman, may I answer that? This area is an open area, and yes, it is for the assisted living. And we set this back 60 feet from Villa Olivera. There's another 60 feet here, so essentially we're 120 feet away from even the property lines of the homes that are to the north of us. And as noted, yes, that is an area that would be utilized by the residents.
Thank you. Anyone else to attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Yes, I'm Juanita Clark, and I'm speaking on behalf of Charleston Neighborhood Preservation. We have board members also from Wolfson's area, if that makes any difference. But we are speaking for this item and for whatever conditions planning put forth. But we are definitely for the improvements and the expansion of the facilities there at that corner. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Commissioner,
please.
I just want to be very brief. Mr. Kemper, I absolutely love this project because I have elderly parents. My father passed away, and my mother is in an assisted living. And what we don't have enough in Las Vegas is the 3-tier program where you can have your parents all in one place. And I think this is going to be one of the greatest assets to our community. And I hope that you can keep it within a price range where people that can afford to live there don't have to be very, very wealthy, but yet that it can accommodate them. And I will agree with you 100% about the parking. It's never full. And I compliment you on this, and I wish you all the luck with this project. It's much needed.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not,
just briefly, I again took the opportunity to meet with Mr. Kemper, who did a yeoman's job on this, and I too agree that I don't think the parking would be an issue. My grandmother was in one of these facilities, a very large facility. I visited her several times a week and never once had any sort of an issue with parking. So I think this is appropriate, and it too will see my support. And I thank you, Mr. Kemper, for all of your work on behalf of your church.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
please.
I think the use is great, and the location, I'm not worried about the parking numbers, but I thought staff had raised a good concern about, if I'm looking at this correctly, there's only one entrance into all of those parking spots on the west side and the south side, right? And that's on Sahara? Because isn't there a crash gate on Cimarron?
Yes.
And a crash gate on Villa Olivera? So all those cars are only going in and out that one driveway, which seems to me to be a problem. I think right now there are the two on Cimarron and the one and also the one on Sahara. So you're going from 3 driveways for all those parking spaces now and down to one driveway on that big. And it just seems to me that for all those cars coming in and out at prime times, that's just not well designed, that there needs to be another entrance or exit there. I thought staff had made a good point about that. I don't know if there's a solution that staff has to that, but
Is the crash gate on South Cimarron, is that a city requirement rather than have it be accessible?
Mr. Chairman, yes. Well, if you're asking me, I'm sorry. It's too close to the intersection to be a driveway that you could otherwise use except for crash gate purposes. I don't really, since this is the existing church, I guess the only way to do it would be to remove some of the landscaping here and maybe put a drive aisle there, but I don't know. We intend that those people who use the church know that this is where you go in, this is where you park to go to church, and this is reserved. Now, obviously on a Sunday, we have certain parking spaces here that could be utilized by handicap, and we deliberately have set it up that way, but I don't know what to say other than as a member of that church, we would be advised that here's where we park, and the rest of this parking is for these other uses. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think we're ready for motions then.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, with regards to item 22 or 24?
22.
Item 22, GPA 34600, make a motion for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 23.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to item 23, ZON 34601, motion is for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? 24.
With regards to item 24, VAR 34605, variance related to GPA, motion is for approval.
Motion's made. Please cast your votes. 25. Opposed?
Regards to I voted yes on that one.
Please correct me.
Regards to item 25, SUP 34604, motion is for approval.
Motion's made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? Item number 26.
Item 26, SUP 34606, motion is for approval.
Motion's made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? Carries. 27.
With regards to item 27, SUP 34608, motion is for approval.
Motion's made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? And item number 28.
SDR 34602, motion is for approval.
Motion's made. Please cast your vote. Motion carries.
And all matters to the City Council on August 5th.
Thank you all very much. Good evening, and I'm glad I could take care of about half your agenda tonight. So have a good night.
Thank you. We can now move on to item number 32, General Plan Amendment 32693. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas, is to adopt an updated land use and rural neighborhoods preservation element and to revise the 2020 master plan. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, regarding the amendments that you have before you this evening for our land use and rural neighborhood preservation element, there are essentially two categories of changes that we are making this evening or proposing to make this evening. Number one is relative to the land use portion of the element. We are making changes to the tables to add some clarifications based on use of the document over the past 4 years since it was originally adopted in 2005. And then secondly, we are making some changes to the rural neighborhood preservation element to bring it into conformance with Nevada revised statutes. First of all, relative to the land use element itself, what we are doing is adding clarifications to the zoning districts that are appropriate based on the land use categories. We are not adding any new land use categories to the element or changing any of the definitions, but rather adding some clarifications to that. And then secondly, relative to the rural preservation overlay portion of the element, there was some language that was missing that NRS requires, and so we have added that. And also in the process, what we have done is updated the rural preservation map. Now, we have not made any changes to the actual definition of what constitute properties that belong within the rural preservation area, but rather development that has occurred since the map was first adopted in 2005. We have had to make some changes for those properties that no longer fit that definition. I do have one change to the map that is not included in your packet. Let me just move to the overhead. Let's see if we can put that map on the screen for just a moment. There is a subdivision, and I'm sorry this probably doesn't come up very clearly. There is a subdivision at the northwest corner of Maggie and Coke, up in the northwest portion of the city, that, if developed, would have a density greater than 2 units per acre, and so consequently it would not qualify to be within the Rural Neighborhoods Preservation District. However, that subdivision has not developed out yet, and so consequently we are going to leave it within the RMP area. And so that is one change on the map that is different than what you have in your packet. I'm going to submit a copy of this to the city clerk so that we have that on record. And that is the only change that we have before you this evening. Again, those are the changes that we are proposing, and we would request your approval of this amendment to the document. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Now, anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Mr. Farlow.
Thank you. What page is that on?
Sorry. It's the first map that appears in the back of the document. And it's titled Rural Preservation Overlay District Map.
Mr. Chairman, while we're looking at that, a question for Mr. Vag.
Page 61. Yes, please, go ahead.
When the state statute with regard to rural preservation neighborhoods sunsetted, did the city then sort of codify language with regard to what would constitute an RNP?
Yes, exactly. The city did do that in Title 19. That language is codified based on what was originally in NRS.
Is it similar in the sense that there's a buffer area and there's some exclusions with regard to the widths of roads and things of that nature?
Yes, that does still carry forward.
Okay. And so, in a nutshell, basically what this does is simply revise or put the rural preservation element into the master plan, or
it actually adds
some tweaking?
Yeah, there's some tweaking that does bring it into compliance with NRS, and then again changes to the map that have occurred since 2005 based on approvals that have happened since 2005.
Okay. Well, I thank you always for your work, Mr. Our Mensa savant in the planning department. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed. And it's up to the planning commissioners for further discussion.
Question for Flynn. On the land use maps, you said there was some tweaking. Is there other maps changes that were other than the maps we've been using for?
No, there is no significant changes to the maps other than, for example, general plan amendments to land use that have occurred. We have just updated the maps to reflect that. So those are the only changes.
Okay. Thank you.
No further discussion. I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make motion for approval for Flynn's hard work on GPA 32693.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
To council on August 5th.
We can now move to item number 33, which is the General Plan Amendment 34613. The applicant orders the City of Las Vegas is to adopt an updated economic development element and revise the 2020 master plan. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, I think I need to make a correction here. It's not my hard work that has brought these documents before you, but rather the work of Mr. Steve Swanton, who worked on our land use and RMP element. And then this item, the economic development element, was drafted by Mr. Richard Wasmuth. So they are the ones who actually deserve the credit. I'm just the messenger who's bringing it here to your table this evening. The economic development element was originally adopted by the City of Las Vegas in 1992. However, since then, NRS has changed its requirement as to what this document should contain. And so what we are doing this evening is bringing you an updated document that is now consistent with Nevada revised statutes. I will also note that with the council adoption of these two documents, the city's master plan will finally be in compliance with NRS in that we will have all 18 elements that are required by NRS. So this is a milestone for us. The name of the element itself, economic development element, is a bit of a misnomer. Actually, what Nevada revised statutes requires is basically an explanation of how we intend to implement the city's master plan. And so what this element discusses is basically the financing mechanisms that are available for implementing our master plan. A lot of the element deals with the city's capital improvement plan, and with our current state of the city budget, one of the things that the document does ask us to do is to look for alternative funding sources for our capital improvement projects. Moving on, let me go to the recommendations of the document itself. There are essentially 5 recommendations. These are the things that we intend to implement over the next series of years. Number 1, as I had mentioned, is to utilize alternative funding sources for future capital projects that we intend to develop based on the master plan. Number 2, the second recommendation is to have us evaluate our capital improvement plan on an annual basis to see which projects are relevant and needed by the public versus those that may no longer be necessary. Recommendation number 3 is to have us look at our fee structure and looking for ways that we might be able to pay for services. Recommendation number 4 is relative to working with the private sector in developing public art and activity nodes and to develop those relationships. And then finally, recommendation number 5 is relative to parks and open space and working on that and providing that necessary recreation and element for our residents. That concludes my presentation, and I'll go ahead and take your questions now.
I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter to please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. On recommendation number 1, what are the other fee sources that they're looking for?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the other alternative sources that we'd be looking at, obviously we have stimulus funding that is available this year, and so we are investigating that currently. There are also other grants that are available either through federal sources, through state sources. For example, one of the things that we've been looking at is NDOT enhancement grants as a way to do streetscape improvements. And then the third way that we would look at is public-private partnerships. That's another way that we can also implement improvements that benefit the public.
Well, I'm against that. I think it should be coming through the property tax. And I'm saying that, and for instance, I know that the times are tough, and I live in a real small house and all of that. I understand all of that. But taking everything in consideration, I pay probably 1/8 of what my mother does in Delta, Colorado, just a little town. I mean, our taxes here are really, really, I mean, when you really get back and look at them, they're real low. And I mean, my taxes are about $600 a year, and they really, for what we get, should be about $800. So, and I just think, and now I understand because they reduced the valuation of the house, the taxes are going to go down. And at some point, the people that live in the community have to pay for what they get. And for what we get in this city, we get our streets cleaned all the time. Our trash, that's a separate issue, but our trash is picked up all the time. We have the rapid response that comes around all the time. I mean, maybe they just concentrate in my area, I don't know. But for the services we get, I mean, compared to any place else, I mean, it's really low. I mean, a lot of you people, you know, that live in the mansions and that probably don't understand that. But still, you have to understand, what would your house be like if you were living someplace else? Thank you.
That's only those two that can't get their cars through the drive-through.
I have a little tractor.
Wow. Okay. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Go ahead.
I can't tell you how happy I was to see this item on the agenda, because all the years I've sat here, we've never had anything where we could actually talk about taxes in this community as a planning commissioner. And contrary to Mr. Farlow's belief, we have a great community here, but when you layer on all the taxes that happen throughout this community and the partnership fees, the opportunity to be involved fees, it's becoming damn expensive to live in Southern Nevada, and it's becoming very unfriendly to the business climate. And we will lose sight of what a great city we have and the ability to pay for the services that we all want if we make this an unfriendly environment to recruit jobs and business. And you know, I've been looking for months, and I don't see much stimulus dollars getting to the average person in Las Vegas. So I'm not sure where this will get lost in the paperwork here. But I've supported every master plan element as a planning commissioner, and I believe so. But there's things in here that talk about alternative fundings and all these things that, quite honestly, I know staff, the city managers have all looked at how we cut costs, and it's painful out there. But I got to tell you, the business and the residents of this community are getting killed financially. And when I look at some of the things in here, it's very difficult for me to support this element as it relates to some of the language which is in the element.
If I may, just to clarify, so we have your comments correct, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
The fees is what you're discussing. Is that correct? Not taxes, per se?
Recommendation.
Okay. Because, of course, as we know, there's very little taxing, if any.
Not in my house. There's plenty of taxing.
Well, I mean, that's the cities, correct?
I agree.
So what was referenced here was fees. Okay.
No. There's two places. Recommendation 1 talks about utilize alternative funding for future CIP projects. I think that as a planning commission, we're well served by making the recommendation that we consider them. Although of all the decisions that our elected officials do, prioritizing capital improvement projects and identifying funding to go along with those is probably the singularly most significant. Without increasing revenue from some source, we're then left with two alternatives. And one, obviously, is to cut the service, and the second is to increase property taxes, both of which are very negative things to do at this time. You know, we recently have had discussions currently going on about the redevelopment agency as a method for funding some of our very significant projects, and not receiving a lot of support, and negative talk associated with those projects drives the interest rates higher and higher as we go. So we'll see how that goes. But I think to recommend that the planning level that we consider alternate funding is well stated and needs to be done to pursue all sorts. When we talk about gaining federal monies, it's taking money out of my left pocket and putting it in my right pocket. It was all started off as being mine to start with. But the more hands that it passes through, the less it's available to do the work, though. And so I appreciate your recommendation that alternate services or alternate funding sources be identified and considered. So. But the recommendation 3 is the one that talks about evaluating existing fee structures, and those are all very well. There has to be a nexus for the fees that are charged, that they do reimburse the city for the cost of providing that service. I think that's fair. So, any other discussions? Okay, then I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make the motion for approval of GPA 34613.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries. We can now move to item number 34, which is variance.
To council, August 5th. Thank you.
Thank you for putting that on there. Okay, item number 34 is variance 34603. The applicant is P2R Las Vegas LLC. The owner is ASAF Nevada, Inc., to allow 176 parking spaces where 331 are required for proposed 45,098 square foot commercial recreation amusement indoor use go-kart track at 7350 Prairie Falcon Road. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this variance is required as the commercial recreation amusement indoor use proposed for the subject site is more intense than the previously approved office and warehouse uses, resulting in an increased parking requirement of 331 spaces for the subject site, which has a total of 176 existing parking spaces. The applicant has provided no evidence of unique or extraordinary circumstances to justify the request and has created a self-imposed hardship by proposing a use that is too intense for the site. Therefore, staff is recommending denial of this variance.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening. Lucy Stewart, 1122 Rampart, and with me is Mr. Brad Mark, who is the owner and operator of our proposed facility. And I guess maybe I might want to do a little bit of house cleaning or housekeeping before I get into my presentation, but I think the staff's if approved conditions were to meet and talk about, I guess, creating one lot as opposed to the two lots. And I pulled the assessor's map today, and it's been done. It's been combined into one parcel, so I can turn this in and show you that it's now one lot. So
condition number 2 would no longer be necessary if it's.
We'll leave it there just so that we have the opportunity to check that, but if it's been done, it's been done. So.
Right. I just wanted to put that on the record that because from day one they told us staff told us they wanted it, and they got right on the ball. So anyway, we are asking for a variance for parking for a variety of reasons, and as staff did indicate that the parking code does require 331 parking spaces, and the site only has 176. However, because the distinction is this being an indoor amusement and not a warehouse. But I think if you sort of look at the site, we kind of do function as a warehouse a little bit. A warehouse is a big space that stores a lot of equipment or boxes or whatever, and it's open and there's not a lot of activity. I think if you look at the floor plan, that sort of tells the whole story, because basically we are storing the track for the most part. I mean, the bulk of the site is the track. These are the existing offices that they're not going to change them because they already are in existence. And then these are electric carts, so this is where they actually have to charge them. So basically, this is where the public can be. So there's not a lot of room. They're only allowing 10 cars on the track at one time. That's the most. There is another location, which is over just west of the Palms at Nevso and Arville, which is just one block south of Flamingo. And that, I believe, you allow 14 cars? 13 cars on the track at the time, and it's a little bit bigger, yet there's less parking provided at that location. One of the things that I think that's great about this is they actually have 2 vans that go and will pick you up and bring you back if you're at a hotel. Because this is in the Northwest, I think part of the idea is that they are hoping that there will be a lot of locals, but I think they're also focused on the hotels that are in the northwest part of the valley, also the downtown. And honestly, I think that they're so busy at their other location that they're hoping that they can divert some of the strip people that they pick up and bring them. I don't know that they care which site they're at. As long as they get to drive the race cars. Because they do limit the amount of cars that can be in there, and there really aren't going to be a lot of people stacking outside and waiting. And most of their peak hours are in the evening and on the weekends, and there's this business, assuming the other side is occupied in the future, they won't have an activity at night or on the weekend. Plus, there's also lots of businesses in the area. And I know staff in their report says that they're recommending finding a site that's more suited, but unfortunately, warehouses are what really suit this use because it occupies a tremendous amount. As you can see, it occupies the majority of the interior. There just really isn't a lot of public area unless you're in a car and actually driving on the track. One of the things that I think that Commissioner Quinn, you were concerned about was the handicap parking, and we're not removing any handicap parking. And in fact, at this location, as well as the ones in California, they're going to have a hand control car, and they're also the track guys that are out there all the time, and so they're big enough and brawny enough that they can assist anybody into that needs to be helped into the car. So I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Mark, and he can maybe tell you a little bit about how he operates and what they're planning on this
Mr. Chair,
site.
before you continue, Ms. Stewart, did you say that you would agree to all the if approved conditions?
Oh, actually, I think we've already met the approved condition with regard to combining the lot, and I think that Ms. Wheeler was just saying they just needed to check it. But I pulled the assessor's map today, and it's actually just one lot, so that's already been done.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brad Mark with Pole Position Raceway. As Lucy was saying, it's about 85% of the area is the track alone, and then with the pit areas and the offices, it's a relatively small number of people. In addition to that, most of the folks, of course, come together, families and such that are in one vehicle. We have less than 100 spaces at our existing property at Flamingo and Arvale, just across from the Palms Place. Was coming back from lunch yesterday and was quite disappointed with the recession because there was only 2 cars outside, and I went in and there was an hour-and-a-half wait to race. So it's when the people come together with the strip, with the shuttles that we run and things like that, it's a relatively low use. We've also done other parking studies at we have 2 locations in California and 1 in Oklahoma City, all of which operate with more locals. Obviously, don't have the strip traffic down there. And again, this parking will be our best parking space in one of our smallest facilities. So it's actually quite accommodating for our intended use.
And I forgot to put in also is an existing. I don't think any of this area here is being changed. It's just there's
That's
no
correct.
point in it. And there's like a 750 square foot conference room, and so they're just going to keep it for birthdays. But the other side actually has a lot of functions. They have 2 big main meeting rooms, and in fact, I meet in one of those rooms once a month for a board that I'm on, and there's never been any. And we all drive ourselves, and there's never been a parking issue. The one thing that is nice, in the northwest corner of the site, there's a big truck area that's I can show you in the site plan that's just open for where the trucks back in and circle. And if for any reason there was a need to have a function, they're going to pretty much send them to the other site. But there's this big area that's not striped, and it's just for the truck turnaround and all, that they could also do valet parking and at least store them there. And that's one of the things that I think they've done on the other site when there was a big event that, they actually do valet parking, so they do their own parking on the site. So there really isn't that much just individual drive-up traffic.
For the I believe at our Nevso Arville property, our occupancy is around 300 people max, I think, is our building occupancy for the 60,000 square feet approximately that we have. Our biggest event, probably one of our biggest events with our biggest use was we hosted a Chamber of Commerce event for the city of Las Vegas back in February. We do some charity events. We had a big fundraiser during the NASCAR week when Kurt Busch, who's one of our shareholders, and a bunch of NASCAR guys came over. So some of those uses are our most intense uses, and we still have never had a parking problem, no complaints. On both of those occasions, we arranged for valet service just to be careful and take extra precautions. So, because our business is at night in a warehouse environment, when we have run into a couple of big events like that with the Chamber of Commerce or the charity events like that, where we do have massive locals converging at once, we still have never had a problem with parking.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed, and I'd turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. I would like to comment that I have visited this facility on a couple of occasions, the one down across by the Palms, and that's a much larger facility than this, and has less than 100 parking spaces, and have never seen any kind of a parking problem there at all. Also, it's unfortunate this falls under a category of go-kart tracks. These are the furthest thing from go-karts in the world. These are indoor, they're race cars.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the size of a large desk rather than a small, medium-sized lawnmower. These are big, expensive pieces of equipment that require a full maintenance area, and the layout of the track requires that only 10 of these vehicles can be operating at any given time. So if you've got 10 people out there driving and 10 people waiting, that the maximum would be 20 vehicles. Hardly would be unusual. It's, again, is unfortunate that our parking requirements are based on square footage of a facility, more so than the use of what's going on in this regard. The activity that's going on at this site, while it's might fall in the area of indoor recreation and amusement, it's a lot different than a bingo parlor in terms of square foot per participant. It's different than what would be for a fitness place or anything else. It's probably 100 to 1 type ratio in terms of square foot per participant. So I think that the parking variances, it's not unusual, and it's well within what would be needed to operate this facility safely in an attractive manner. So, anybody else wishing to speak?
Just briefly, I want to say for the record that I had a nice conversation today with you, Ms. Stewart, and I want to compliment you, sir, for reaching out into the disabled community to address that they can also enjoy your facility. You'll be seeing my approval tonight on this item, because I agree that there's no way you're going to fill this many spaces at one time. So I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if anybody else wants to say anything, I'll make the motion.
Sure. If there's no other discussion, please go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of variance 34603, following all staff's recommendations, and what Ms. Stewart said, that the land was already
If I may, we'll keep the condition in there, and then we'll check that, and if it's confirmed,
and you agree
fine.
with that condition. Thank you very much.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and I'd invite all of you to come to the other location, and Mr. Trowbridge, you again too, if you like, and maybe Ms. Wheeler, you might want to come and just take a look and see what it's like.
You'll see Margot behind the wheel.
She is a race car junkie.
I won't be driving that time.
That's why she takes the bus now.
Thank you.
And if we need to use the go-karts for the drive-through, I'm available to rent them every day. No problem.
The other part that I didn't mention is that the air quality inside the building is excellent. There's no fumes or smell, and it's amazing. So thank you very much. Okay,
That goes to council on August 5th.
We now move to item number 35, which is special use permit 34572. The applicant is Magin Schools. Owner is 2024 Rancho LLC. Is for a 100-student private school primary within an existing 11,000 square foot church building at 4225 North Rancho Drive, Suite 120. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request is for a private primary school to be located within an existing church facility in a commercial subdivision containing various retail and warehouse uses. The location of the proposed school within the commercial subdivision is not appropriate, as the surrounding uses are too intense. The site is parking impaired, and there is no provision for outdoor activities for students. In addition, the drop-off area is separated from the building by a driving lane and is not adequate to ensure the safety of the children attending the school. Therefore, staff is recommending denial of this request. Please note that additional protests were received for this item.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and turn the matter over to the planning, or to the public. If anyone wishes to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
John Lotman, 8965 Southeastern, representing the applicant and the owner. The staff report I got off the internet didn't mention some of the other issues. The main issue on the staff report that we got this morning was the safety issue with the children. And I'd like to address that. What we think we can do to make this a safe place to drop off is, as shown on the site plan we submitted, the drop-off area works really. You come in on this side, come around here, and we're locating the drop-off zone here. This is the church facility, existing church facility here. The school is they've already got classrooms and everything inside the building. Those will be used for the Imagine School. This not a part portion over here is a dance studio. So in the morning, drop-off would be, and we would have staff members from the school outside. We would cone the parking spaces off, so this is nice and open area. And with the staff member supervision, we think we have a safe place for the kids to drop off and get into the front door, which is right here.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak? Mr. Box?
Chairman Trowbridge and Commissioners, I'm Richard Box, 4025 North Rancho, and I'm the pastor of the church. And I came just to confirm that during the day there is no parking right in front of our church. We don't have anything that we do early in the morning or in the afternoon, and that we will be able to comb the parking that is located right here at both of those times, so that there's no other activity that's going on. Also, there's no traffic really that goes through that lane. It's not really a way in or a way out. It's almost like a cul-de-sac. It's not, but in the sense that there's really no reason to come through here for building purposes, and so that's why we didn't feel like that was going to be a danger at all. And so those were just a couple of the reasons that I wanted to come and just confirm that we didn't really, though we appreciate the work of the staff, we didn't think that was going to be a concern, and we're greatly concerned about the safety of the kids as well.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak, please approach the microphone. Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'd like to know how old these kids are going to be, and the reason I say that, and how long they're going to attend school. Because if you get the real young ones out there, after 2 hours they're going to be climbing the walls, and they're going to need some place to go out and play. And I wonder how they're going to take care of this. Thank you.
Primary school.
Hi, I'm Connie Birch, and I'm principal of Imagine Valle. And I wanted to answer your question. We will have 100 students. They are kindergarten levels only. It's a kindergarten facility program. And we do have an area inside the church that we can use their facility. They do have small equipment that the students can play on. Again, it's only 5-year-olds that will be inside this particular location.
And, I mean, you've got 100 5-year-olds. You have no play area, no grass, no outdoor recreation area?
This is only a temporary site until the other temporary site that has already been approved through the councilman, until that gets complete. Once we get to that location, we will have the play area. But we're hoping only for the first couple of weeks, maybe a month at the most, we will be at this particular location until our other site is complete.
So the other site is under construction?
Yes, it is.
So if we approve this
for... I want to make sure I use the right wording.
Excuse me, Commissioner. The other site is not yet under construction. It's a portable building. The portable building is going to be on the site of another church, the Meadows Fellowship. We were here, I think, a month ago. We got that through the SDR for Imagine School. That building is being submitted to the state. The state governs the modular buildings.
Right.
When that gets erected, then they will have another site. And that's a large, it's a 5-acre site with plenty of play area on it.
I understand and truly understand the issues of temporary schools and what you're going through. I just, I can't imagine potentially 100 kindergartners in a facility without a recreational area. I don't think it meets the state codes. I may be wrong. No, actually, I'm pretty sure I'm right, that you have to have so much play area for each student. And for that, I can't support this item. I support schools, believe me, but I just think you're going to wind up with the kids locked up all the time, and that in a half-day setting or a full-day setting, that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they'd be eating lunch in their rooms.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'm curious, you're essentially saying that this is a temporary situation. Someone mentioned matter of months. Was that you're seeking a special use permit for a primary school within an existing church, but for a very brief period of time?
Correct.
Okay. But when we approve the SUP, doesn't that run essentially forever, Ms. Wheeler?
If I may, yes, it does run with the land. You could, for instance, put a review period on it, at which time it may be the case that they would be willing to, this would not be necessary any longer, in which case it could go away. So a review period on it would certainly be appropriate based upon what they're saying now, but that's not in the justification letter, nor is there any discussion of this other site. So this is all new information.
Okay. And once
to
again,
us.
I would defer to Commissioner Truesdale on this. Is I would agree, 100 kindergartners in one place with no recreation area. I can't imagine 100 kindergartners without phenobarbital, or at least a sedation for me. But I would think they, and just for your edification, the commissioner serves as a founding member, I think, of the Meadows School, and in my 8 years here, Commissioner Truesdale, I think, understands schools better than anybody here. So, and I'd like to hear more, Commissioner. Quite frankly, I think you need I think you need a recreation area, but you're looking for something temporary. But I was wondering if there wasn't some provision in the code that would allow, a temporary use, that it would expire within a period of time. So I don't know.
If I may, there's significant tenant improvements that are going to have to be done here, so that a temporary use usually does not entail significant modifications to a structure, but rather just the use of some existing facility. In this case, it's a rather significant project as opposed to, a
Well, if
Sunday
that were the
school
case,
or
why would you be committing, assumingly, a lot of resources to something that's only going to be in existence for a couple months?
That's a good question, and I haven't done a code research. I know the county requires for daycare 37 square feet per person per child. This is not a daycare, this is a school, so we're not falling under the county's requirements.
State law requires the same thing.
And if the state's the same way, then we do have an issue there, and we wouldn't get a license. I haven't done that research to verify that.
And I just wanted to ask, 100 children, would that be like a morning program and an afternoon program?
It's an all-day kindergarten program.
Oh, an all-day
kindergarten program. And what we're finding, and again, we have existing parents that are attending our school this year. Parents are aware of this. This is not new news for them. They understand it's only, again, temporary until our permanent structure is complete. I want to make sure I use the right verbiage, planning and zoning verbiage. Again, that's my emphasis. The parents are aware of it, and all of them are willing to obviously attend our school, and we're seeking approval. And we do start school on August 24th, and that's why we're here to make sure that this is obviously Plan B, preparing if our facility obviously is not complete on August 24th at the original church that we will have our site.
You have 100 registered
We have a waiting
children
list.
for
We have-
August 24th
Mhm.
with a waiting list?
I actually met with them today at 4 o'clock.
Oh, my
They are aware that we are here, and they're hoping that I come back, obviously, with good news. And if I need to bring them here, I will. They are excited about an all-day kindergarten program. Quality education, let me add.
I'm torn on this item. I know a little bit about daycare, having run the recreation department for many, many years, and the activities are required for not only the county license but also state licensing. And I also know by reputation, Pastor Box and his excellent work with the youth, and it's just I just can't believe that he would get involved in anything that wouldn't be done correctly, But I do think you need to do diligence and go check about what the requirements are. You might be working real hard on your Plan B that's going to wind up being a dead end because the state's not going to approve with outdoor area. I tend to agree with Commissioner Truesdale. You need outdoor space for these kids. And that energy that you're expending on Plan B might better have been expended on making sure that Plan A was ready in an appropriate time. But that's just my advice, and I know you're trying to do the right thing here.
Yeah.
But boy, I just don't know if this board were to approve it and you continue to expend energies on your Plan B, maybe for naught. Don't. So that's just.
Can
my
it be
thought.
reviewed on, can it be approved on any conditions if we need to do any type of adjustments to make
Well, I
whatever?
think that one of the comments that the would be a short review, at least certainly nothing more than 1 year review, and if then all of a sudden you'd have to, if it doesn't work out in that period of time, you'd have to go back and all the on-site improvements you made to accommodate a temporary use, and you're going to say, my goodness, look at all the money we've spent for nothing, and not a good move.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Just a couple of comments. I happen to know a little bit about schools, having my parents have one named after them, and we were able to be a part of putting that school together. I think you're rushing through, and to me, it's almost like warehousing the kids, and it's I think education from day one, a precedent has to be set to mold a kid. And I just don't think, I look at your plan and I see 4 classrooms in a sanctuary, and I ask myself from 7:30 to 2:45, where are the kids going to go? And I think it's important at that age that they start off on the right foot in a proper facility. So I would say, as opposed to rushing it, take your time. And I understand how the church starts slow and you have to grow, but I think we're dealing with precious resources here, and I just don't think this is proper to not have a facility that's prepared to handle the kids from 7:30 until 2:45 in the afternoon. So
I really want to add to that. I want to reassure you that we do have that facility. We are again here because if August 24th we were not able to open up in that facility that you just described, I needed a location for our students to receive a quality education, and that's what that would be. Because we are aware that that facility, the original facility that you just described, would not be ready in time. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we found a quality location for that. I understand that our dilemma is a play area, and I was in hope that
But from a land use perspective, if we approve this, I mean, that special use permit goes with the land. And so that means from henceforward, unless we put a condition on that says we come back and review it.
Can I get a play area?
Just my belief, I think school facilities are school facilities, and they should be in the proper place, and they should have the proper classrooms, outdoor facilities, playground equipment. So, and I understand your dilemma between now in August. And are you asking us just to approve this for 30 days until the...
If that's what it takes,
till the
absolutely.
new... You can't do that.
I learned that tonight. I
Right.
can see
We-
that.
we can't do
and I
that,
want to
so-
let you know that we are in a current facility. We just finished our first year of operation in that type of facility. Again, we have 100 students, families in the community that are eager to be a part of our educational school, and that's why I'm here. And obviously, if we could get a playground installed, I would do that. So
Thank you.
Well, for the applicant, your current location where you're at,
We're inside Durango Hills YMCA.
Right.
We serve kindergarten through 5th grade at this time.
Right. Why does that?
We are at capacity. We are at capacity at that location. And that's why we have 100 kindergartners, families waiting in every grade level, waiting to get into our school. And that's why we've worked on the permanent location. I know I keep reemphasizing that, but I want to reassure you that that's the facility that we have. Play area, quality education, but that facility would not be complete
There
in time.
you're in 1 through 5, grades 1 through 5.
Excuse me, where?
At the Y, you have...
Right now we're kindergarten through 5th grade. But next year we will be 1st grade through 6th grade because our 5th grades, we need that space for 6th grade. And that's why we reached out to originally Neville's
So you're
Fellowship
going
Church
to
to have our kindergarten
relocate
program.
all grades here or just kindergarten?
Just kindergarten, all-day program.
So you're going to separate the programs?
Yes, just kindergarten will be at the church.
You know, I know I've been where you've been, and I've done this, and I've built these facilities. Nothing goes as well as you plan time-wise, and unless you could come up with showing us how you're going to create a recreational facility, I don't think this is the right solution for you.
Okay.
And I understand. I mean, you're sitting there and you've got all these parents and they're all meaning well and they want to be there, but you will harm your program if you offer, if you go into a facility as a poor compromise. You will harm your educational program that affects the school. And my belief in schools, I think, I'd hate to see you do that, but I just think this is not the solution that I think you really need to be focused on.
Appreciate your advice.
Let's just make one comment that my kids love running through the sanctuary, and not just because they're pastors' kids, but they love it. And our chairs are movable, and it's a decent sized area for kids to run up and down. I don't know if that constitutes a play area,
But Mr. Box, that's not, school. School is not made to move the chairs back and run up and down. School's made to be out on the playground. School's made to have the basic, solid fundamentals. And that's what happens with our kids in today's society. We're so fast moving, we got so much technology flying around, but we miss the basics. Reading, writing, arithmetic, playing in the playground, learn to respect people. It's not rocket science. But now we want to take kids, put them in a building, in a warehouse, move the chairs back, no sunshine, run up and down, and, get out and see the fresh air. Let kids be kids, and let's mold them like proper adults. And that's where we miss it sometimes in this society, because we're so caught up in trying to get as many kids into school. We're at capacity, but we need this, not for the kids, because we got 100 more to come. So let's get them in and let's get them out, and we miss that valuable part of let's focus on educating the kids and letting them do the fundamentals through a curriculum process. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I can't support it.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I would, for the several reasons that were stated, follow staff recommendation for denial of this matter and move to deny it.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries.
That motion for denial is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days to be filed with the office of the city clerk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We now move to item number 36, which is special use permit 34596. The applicant is Vinny Boys Italian Market. Owner is Spoax LLC for a proposed beer wine cooler off-sale establishment within an existing 4,375 square foot convenience store at 3620 West Sahara Avenue, Suite W02. Staff report, please.
The proposed wine cooler off-sale establishment will take up 2% of the gross floor area as depicted on the floor plan, date stamp 6/12/09. The hours of operation for the retail establishment will be Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Staff finds that this use is compatible and harmonious with the existing and future uses in the area and recommends approval. Please note, if approved, we'd like to add 2 conditions. All beer and wine coolers shall remain in the original manufacturer's configuration of 4 or 6 packs, and an additional condition that reads, the sale of single beers, malt beverages, or wine coolers of any size with alcohol by volume greater than 6% shall be prohibited. The sale of wines with an alcohol by volume of greater than 16% shall be prohibited. Please note we have received additional comments after posting.
Thank you. Now declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Do we have anyone here representing the applicant? Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed. I think because we have no one here to accept the additional conditions, it kind of draws us to a foregone conclusion. Turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I was prepared to make a motion for approval, but in the absence of the applicant's concurrence, maybe I can ask direction from the city attorney. Well, I guess we could go forward, or shall we not?
You could go forward, or you could hold the item until the applicant's able to be here and to agree to the condition.
Well, if it goes to council, I think they'd have to concur at that point. So I think my motion would be to follow the recommendation of the staff for approval with the conditions as read into the record, and then we'll specifically ask the applicant, as it moves forward to city council, to concur that they agree with all the, if approved, conditions. So my motion would be for approval with all conditions in addition to those read into the record.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
To council August 5th.
We now move to item number 37, which is a special use permit 34609. The applicant is Mariana's Enterprises. Owner is B.E. Uno LLC for proposed 37,500 square foot grocery store with accessory packaged liquor off sale at 2551 East Bonanza Road. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request for special use permit for packaged liquor sales as an accessory use within an existing grocery store that already has a previously approved special use permit for beer, wine, and cooler sales. Approval of the request would allow the sale of packaged liquor in addition to the existing sale of beer, wine, and coolers. The proposed use can be operated in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this request. Please note that an additional protest and approvals were received for this item.
Good evening, Dave Etter, 777.
Let me do the procedure here. I'd like to declare the public hearing open now. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Now you can continue. Thank you.
I apologize. Good evening, Dave Etter, 777 East Courts Avenue, Sandy Valley, Nevada. I'm here tonight representing the applicant. If I could have the overhead for just a moment, I can show you a few things and show you where this is exactly at. In this shopping center, it's on the corner of Eastern and Bonanza. The original store back in the mid-'80s was opened up right over here. It was about a 1,300 square foot convenience store. Late 1980s, about 1988, 1989, Mr. Anaya, who is the owner of the shopping facility, opened up a little store over here about 8,000 square feet. Since then, he's opened up 3 other stores in the county and the city and North Las Vegas, and now is what he's getting ready to do is expand over to what was the old indoor swap meet. That's going to consist of about 37,500 square feet. This is the existing store here, and this is where it's going to be coming into from here all the way down to this end here where the signage isn't quite up yet. They're planning to go ahead and put in about 2,000 square feet of liquor and beer and wine. It's going to be over in this area temporarily. They are planning to move it back over to the existing part of the existing store, which will be over in the 8,000 square foot section, and it'll be back over in here. But for right now, until they can get that build out completed, they're putting it over here by the dairy area.
Mr. Vetter, right here, over here, Mr. Chairman, you accept all the conditions of the staff?
Yes, we do.
And they're recommending approval?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before you make a motion, Mr. Etter currently represents a tenant of mine in a licensing application, I believe, before the City of Las Vegas, and for that reason, I think it's appropriate that I abstain on this matter.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, through you, I just had a question before you continue. This is the old Albertson site, right?
No.
No.
This used to be 30-plus years ago, I believe it was the Smiths, and then it was vacant for many years, and then it became, I think, part of a save-on or something, and it was divided up. Then it became an indoor swap meet, and it's been that for probably 15 or 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak? Mr. Farlow?
Thank you. I am so glad to see them getting a bigger spot there because they definitely need it. That place is crowded.
The only thing I need to do is make a correction on the address that they have on here. They're showing the Bonanza address, which is the existing 8,000 square foot. They're moving over to the big store. It's a different address. It's 574 North Eastern Avenue.
We reviewed the address. The address that will be assigned is this address on Bonanza per the Title 13 and the Pink Book addressing standards.
Okay. I'll address that with business licensing because they had an issue with that as well.
Okay.
So.
Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Please approach the microphone. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Any further discussion?
Just real quick, did you say the 2,000 square feet for alcohol sales?
Alcohol and beer will be 2,000 feet or less of the 37,000 square feet.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be real clear. Was there once before a grocery operation that had the packaged liquor off sale included in it?
It was a Smith's, I believe, Smith's Food and Drug, or back then it was Smith's Food King, and it was back in the early 70s.
Okay. And I don't know what the conditions are, but I know you run good stores, but I have concerns with a lot of the big box stores, and I'm assuming you're just a tenant there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It is family owned and operated, and there is family there that will be on their premises.
Okay. And in many of these shopping centers, I think there are issues with vagrancy, cleanliness, et cetera. And I'm assuming that you're only one of other tenants in there, or?
There are several other tenants in the center, but the Mariana stores has always provided their own security, not only for inside but outside. They have them standing by the front door. They patrol the parking lot to make sure we don't have people purchasing beer, wine, things like that, and then going out to the parking lot and trying to consume it in the parking lot. They also take care of anybody else that just might be wandering through that doesn't have any business in the area.
Okay. And I'd be happy to support this, given that, you know, the nature of the business and that it's a grocery operation. But I would like to see if there would be a period of review. Ms. Wheeler, maybe it can be done administratively, maybe in a period of a year.
We could add a condition that indicates that there shall be a review, an administrative review 1 year after the issuance of the business license for the off-sale use.
Do you accept that?
We accept that, yes.
Okay. Then my motion would be to follow the recommendation of the staff for approval with the additional condition of an administrative review within a period of 1 year. Thank you.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
And that goes to City Council on August 5th.
We now move to item number 38, which is a text amendment, 34717. The applicant owner's the City of Las Vegas is to amend the Town Center Development Standards Manual to update standards for the motor vehicle sales used use. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, currently the Town Center Development Standards do not allow the sale of any used vehicles within the Town Center area. As you know, there have been changed circumstances, and many of the dealerships now are looking for different utilization of their facilities. This text amendment would allow the sale of motor vehicles used with a special use permit in the GC and EC areas of Town Center.
Thank you. Public hearing. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone. Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and motion.
Director Wheeler,
Yes.
the GC and EC, are these new areas or are these the existing auto dealerships?
Existing.
So we're not looking at having used car sales in
That is
every
not, no.
closed retail storefront out there?
That's correct. The standards indicate the minimum site shall be 25,000 square feet. So these are the larger facilities, the dealerships that are out there, not the very small, little tiny used car lots that you see on many of the older strip areas.
Okay, we're ready for a motion, I believe. If no further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve item 38, TXT 34717, subject to all staff's recommendation and condition.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Goes forward to council in ordinance form.
We now move to item number 39, which is text amendment 34897. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas is to amend Table 2 of Title 19.04.010 and Title 19.20 to revise the description, on-site parking requirements, and the definition of bakery retail use.
Thank you,
Staff
Mr.
report, please.
Chairman. As any of you who might have remembered the item that came before this commission and also went before the City Council, we had a larger discussion than anyone wanted to have about donut shops, bakeries, and restaurants. The staff is following up with this text amendment to be very clear that a bakery allows the sale of donuts, cookies, pastries, similar goods, and also clarifies that the parking requirement is the same as that for other retail. Staff is recommending approval of the subject text amendment.
Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Can we write this text amendment to specifically name the brands of donuts that we want to control here? Or
The answer to that question, sir, is no, we may not.
If there are no other comments, I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you very much. Motion's been made for approval. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That'll go forward to council in ordinance form.
We now move to the citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Anyone wishing to speak, please approach the microphone. Seeing none, I would like to, at this point, make another presentation, if I could. This is a last meeting for one of our commissioners, and I would like to ask Commissioner Buckley to stand and be recognized, or be embarrassed, or whichever you'd like to call it. It's my pleasure to present this proclamation from the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission, and I'll read it into the record. Whereas the Planning Commission wishes to acknowledge the capable and dedicated service to the City of Las Vegas and the Planning Commission of Commissioner Michael Buckley, and whereas Michael Buckley was called to serve as an interim Planning Commissioner on January 7, 2009 and served until July 9, 2009, And whereas Commissioner Buckley's extensive knowledge of land use legal matters provided immediate leadership to the Commission during his tenure, and whereas the Planning Commission of the City of Las Vegas wishes to acknowledge the service and volunteer spirit of Planning Commissioner Michael Buckley to the citizens of the City of Las Vegas, and whereas the Planning and Development Department recognizes the many valuable contributions made by Planning Commissioner Michael Buckley to the City of Las Vegas and the professional planning community in Southern Nevada during his interim period and for his past terms, and now for be it resolved that the Planning Commission for the City of Las Vegas sends its heartfelt thanks for the willingness to serve his community and the Planning Commission to Mr. Michael Buckley. Those of you that don't know, Commissioner Buckley served for many years as a planning commissioner before, and his recognized authority as a land use attorney made him an easy pick when Commissioner Steinman was selected to be the interim city councilman representing Ward 4. And so Commissioner Buckley was willing to step in and fill a void immediately and immediately filled a gap that we needed. So thanks again, and appreciate your help.
I would just like to say that I think that thank you for everybody making a part-time guy feel very welcome. It's kind of funny because it didn't seem like that long ago that I was here, and so much has changed. And what's really amazing is I had forgotten how much work the staff does, and it's even more than it ever was. All the things I remember that the planning commissioners used to ask for is now there in the packet, and then some. And I'd also like to say that it's been a real pleasure working with all of you, and many of you I've been on the commission before, and I just think this is a great commission, and I've learned a lot just from listening to you over these last couple months, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you,
please.
I would like to remind the commission that we saved money on the sign, too.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to declare the meeting adjourned.
We'll just archive it for the next go-round.